to DAT Poker Podcast, episode 148. It is November 3rd, 2023. I am your host, A. Schwartz, alongside producer extraordinaire Roscoe P. Coltrane.
What's up?
Co-host Chan T. How are you, sir?
I'm doing great. It's been a while since we did this. All four of us super excited to be back. Awesome. If you excuse me, I just have a little bit of an itch right now.
What's up?
Yeah, I just scratched that itch right there. I'm sorry. Great. I'm sorry. What were we talking about again?
We're talking about World Series of Poker bracelets. Terrence has got his in the mail. Thank God.
I did. Thank you, GG Poker, for sending me the bracelet. I've also updated the DAT Poker leaderboard. Just most bracelets this decade. You guys are doing great. You guys are in a three-way tie for second. So I'm going to put that right there. So we got that leaderboard. Just second.
All right, guys. You guys have a good night. I'm out.
Yes. That's fantastic. Wait, my brother gave me one since Daniel won one. Does that count?
That's true. Okay, I'll move you up on the leaderboard.
One more than I got.
Also co-host Daniel Negreanu in Lake Las Vegas. I'm not even going to call it Las Vegas. This is Lake Las Vegas.
This is heaven, honestly. Like, I'm sitting in front of the fireplace. We're in this new, beautiful place. Tonight was an interesting night because we've been sort of back and forth. You know, we got stuff going on. The puppies haven't been here. They just came tonight. Yeah. And imagine two puppies seeing this new place with all the new smells, going bonkers, sniffing everything.
Have they got lost yet?
Yeah. No. Here's little Rocky. So we got for Rocky, because we got an automatic doggy door, and they got their own. Look at that little doggy door. That's your little, that opens the doggy door automatically.
Oh, that's so cool.
That's awesome. We got a little dog house. And I mean, it's just such a blast. Like, I'm living the golf cart life where, you know, if I got to go to the store, I just pop in my golf cart and drive down there, get whatever I need, you know, the open road, if you will. It's been a blast. We're basically, you know, well, I'd say we're moved in. We still got to go back and forth because there's stuff that's got to come in. You know what I want to do, and I don't know if this is illegal or not, but we're going to find a way. I want Canadian sports channels, okay? People don't understand. You don't understand if you're Canadian and you live in the U.S.
Yeah.
The difference is stark. When I was in Vancouver for a couple of weeks playing the GG, I enjoyed every morning watching Canadian sports networks, and I can't take First Take, Pat McAdoo, Fee, fucking Stephen A. Smith. It's just crap compared to what I would get in Canada. So I want to
find a hockey fan like yourself.
Oh,
by play guys. I mean, you get the NHL Network. I get it, but you want the Canadian play-by-play. You want Chris Cuthbert. You want
that I got with the show with the actuals that I got, because I got different things. You know, I got different channels for that. But just like you know, for example, I was there. They were covering the Canadian basketball team. They're covering, you know, other Canadian sports, and I want to get that. Yeah. Exactly. Like, so much. I feel it's so much more enjoyable. It was more enjoyable. Even the Blue Jays and all that kind of stuff. So that's what we're gonna be doing this next couple of weeks.
Sportsnet Ontario. I'm sure somebody who watches this has some sort of pirated stream.
You need a satellite. Get a satellite.
What you need is a pirated.
Honestly, the Amazon stick works. I don't know if the Amazon Fire Stick works.
I have it.
That works. So all we got to do is figure out how to set it up with my super fancy schmancy TVs.
Yeah. Is anybody else sick of little tiny chocolates? Because there weren't. Does anybody come to Las Vegas? Do you get trick or treaters at Lake Las Vegas?
Well, we didn't get any. I can't imagine. Like, the neighborhood I live in, I'm pretty sure I live next to some old Laker, Los Angeles Laker.
Oh, really?
Pretty sure. I'm not going to name his name because I don't want to, out him, but pretty sure he used to play for the Lakers. And the community is very new. There's a lot of building going on out here. The area. So this is kind of interesting. I'll give a brief sort of backdrop of Lake Las Vegas. This is about 20, 30 years ago. You know, this was supposed to be the hot new place in Las Vegas, the destination, right? And there was a Chinese billionaire who bought up a bunch of the land with a casino, the resort, and all that stuff. And apparently what happened was he was having some issues with licensing, and they were dicking him around a little bit. So he, out of spite, because he can afford it, he's like, screw you guys. I'm not building it, and I'm not selling it. So it just became a wasteland, the whole entire area. Well, that was 20 some odd years ago. He just died this year, and his two sons don't have that beef. Right. So So there's a lot of building going on here. I think the area, it feels like a small town vibe, right? Where if I wanted to be on the strip, instead of taking 17 to 20 minutes, which it normally does, we're looking at 35 to 40. But really, what do I go to the strip for other than to play poker? So during the World Series, one adjustment I'll probably make is get a room for the entirety. And I told Amanda, I said, anytime I make a day two, just going to stay there because, that's a grind. And, that'll be great. But
it's a small price to pay for the place that you're living in, right?
I mean, we got Reflection Bay, we got South Shore, 2 beautiful courses. I'm going to get, membership there. And,
people are like, oh, well, it's so far from the strip, whatever. Like you have to do this commute to the World Series. Like people come from other countries to play at the World Series of Poker and they don't have a problem with it. So it's just a matter of what you value the other 10 months out of the year, really. It's
just not, it's like being in a small town. It really has that vibe. Like there's a little place called The Village. It's kind of a ghost town for now because COVID hit it hard. There's like 3 little restaurants, a couple shops here and there. And it just has a community vibe. Like you see people in the neighborhood, like doing like Halloween nights and different things. And I don't know. I feel like already I can sense, for me and Amanda, it's been great for us to, we had a couple people over one night and, it's amazing. She's super happy. I'm super happy. It's great. Although she's probably listening, but she got a Christmas tree for this area right here. Okay. Right in front.
Is it up? It's November.
It's a beautiful Christmas tree. Okay. It's fucking massive. It don't fit in the house. So we put it out front. I put it in the front of the house. It's actually a beautiful tree, but holy, it's got snow on it, everything. Maybe one day I'll take a picture and I'll show you, but when it's all done.
I think that's offside. I don't think you can put up Christmas trees on November.
I think you're supposed to, November. Am I wrong? I don't know.
So let's guess the Laker. I'm sure all the people listening are now going to be guessing, is it Michael Cooper? Do we have Vlade? Like, who do we have?
It's none of those. I don't think it was anybody good.
Well, like the tell is that Daniel wasn't even 100% sure he was a Laker. So it's not Vlade. It's not,
Exactly. It's nobody I would have recognized.
Yeah.
Nice. All right. Let's jump into it. So, Daniel, poker, you've been in PLO mode. So first we go from the PGT Mixed Games Festival, right? I mean, it flowed right into the PGT PLO Festival, for lack of a better word, the PLO series. You were digging your heels in deep, playing a bunch of 4-card. And interesting, right? Like if you look at the turnouts, I posted the turnout numbers in the show document here, and I was surprised at how many people came out to play in these. Obviously, these are a lot of people that aren't going to play No Limit Hold'em, aren't going to play mixed games. You're going to find a bunch of PLO specialists. I get it, but when you look at 172 players for the 5K PLO Omaha's open event number 1. That's a nice number. Matt Waxman takes that down. You had 149 in.
Well, it was Matthew Wantman, but close enough.
Matthew Wantman, yeah. Sorry. But the first 5 events drew over 100 runners, and I think that's a pretty big success when you look at some of the turnout for No Limit Hold'em in that series.
Well, yeah, when you look overall, actually the mixed games, PLO is drawing bigger, across the board. But even before you mentioned, that part of the series, for me, my stretch of poker, usually the World Series poker is where I play a lot. This year I've played far too much. And I played the GG Poker Series for a couple weeks. Then I played Poker Masters. Then I played Super High Roller Bowl. Then I played the Mixed Game Series. Then I played the 100K PLO Super High Roller Bowl. Then I played the PLO Series. Yeah. And that was a lot. I enjoy PLO. It's a very fun format. I enjoy the mixed games. I just, for me, wish they didn't all happen at once because, I don't know if we want to get into this now.
Let's do that. Let's do that. I cut and pasted your tweet and you talked about your results in 2023. You're on your way to a losing year and you talked a lot about running bad, A, but also B, playing too much. You feel like it was a lot and you're getting older and maybe the fatigue is a real thing.
Yeah, so like people, and what's funny is whenever you post something on Twitter, you get all these people who tell you what to do because they all know you better than you know yourself.
Yeah.
Daniel, here's what you need. Daniel, here's what you need to do. Here's what you need to do. I'm like, I've been doing 30 years. I know what I'm doing, right? But this year, I made some bets, PGT bets, which upped my volume significantly. I played all this.
Talk about those bets at all? Like, you don't have to say who they're with, but maybe.
Yeah, so basically, I made a few side bets on who would get the most PGT points in a year with a couple people. Nothing crazy, but it it made me want to play more of them. So I played more of them. Normally, this part, like after the World Series, is usually a downtime for me. I don't put in a lot of volume, right? But because of the way that it was structured this year, like I said, what I found is, and maybe you guys can chime in on this too, is that few things happened for me. This happened to me actually even in my 20s. I remember in my 20s, I would play a tournament every day. I would travel Foxwoods, Atlantic City, Vegas, LA. And sometimes after playing a tournament for 40 days in a row, you're not bringing it. You're just there. You know what I mean? You're not gung-ho, excited to play. And as a result, when you're in that place, you're far less likely to care enough to really grind that 6 big blind stack and make the best possible decisions. It's
those marginal decisions are the interesting ones, right? When you're fatigued.
Right. The ones that, when you're on those spots, you take the one that's higher risk and like, whatever. You know what I mean? You don't feel as bad about losing. Whereas maybe when, this is the only event you're going to play, you have much more intensity involved. So there's that coupled with, I think too, just overall, when I was in my 20s, I could still do fine. But as I'm hitting almost 50 now, I find that with age too, fatigue plays a larger role. For me, often with these Poker Go events, right, the way it works is you play down to about 1:30 a.m., you play the final table the next day, right? So you start that at noon. And then when that's over, 3, 4 o'clock, you late reg, you jump in the next one.
Yeah.
That next one that I play is minus EV. I'm not there. I don't have the focus, don't have the energy to go back to back to back like that. Whereas maybe in my 20s, that wouldn't have been an issue. I remember in Foxwoods in 1997, I won the $100 buy-in limit hold'em with, who knows, $15K I got for $100 buy-in. So they paid different back then. But the very next day, I jumped into the 1500 limit hold'em and I won that too. That's a lot more difficult for me to do today, as I've aged a little bit.
I wonder how much of that is, sorry, Terrence, I just want to quickly jump in and ask both of you, tournaments versus cash games, right? So tournaments are this, animal that you have to be there until you bust. Where cash games, you don't have to be there. You can go when you want. You can leave when you want. It makes it a little bit different. The endurance maybe not as big of a factor as tournaments. Terrence, I know you played lots of both. Before we get to Daniel, what were thoughts on tournaments versus cash as far as that goes?
I'm really glad you brought that up. That's a really great point because Daniel talked about the being in 20s and early 30s, and when I was at that point in my life, I played a lot more cash because frankly, I wanted to make money back then. That was more important than the competitiveness of tournaments. So I played mostly cash in my 20s, and I just grinded as hard as I can until I couldn't possibly handle it anymore. So we've all played like the 18 to 24 hour sessions where you're barely making decisions, but the game is so good that you don't actually have to be playing that well to make money because like you just got like 4 guys in the game who are just lighting it on fire. Now that's not going to happen when you're playing a high stakes, 100K buy-in PLO tournament. You're playing against killers. And if you're not on your game, that's, you're just like, as Daniel said, you're negative EV if you're entering that in a suboptimal state of mind. I think it's very night and day because you can always quit cash if the game isn't good or if you feel like you're not playing good, but you can't do that with tournaments. The only way that you essentially quit a tournament is you punt it off. And it's a thing where not only are you punting it off so you're getting it in bad, other people realize if they're sharp players that you're ready to punt it off. Like, you can always tell. I've played sometimes it's late, in day one of a tournament. Guy just doesn't want to be there anymore. He's ready to blast off. You value bet this guy. You value bet this guy real thin, and he's itching to just pay you off with third pair. You're not going to bluff this guy. So if you're in a situation where people recognize your heart's not in it, they can exploit you and it's even worse than what you're saying, that you're making bad decision, but also people know what kind of bad decision you're going to make.
Yeah, I will say this too. There's another aspect that I didn't touch on too, is some tournaments you're very emotionally connected to. Mm-hmm. The Super High Roller Bowl, I was trying to make my title defense. I made the final 8. Ike Haxton punted against me and got there and ended up winning the tournament. And that takes a lot out of you. And normally after that, you get some time off. But instead, we're jumping right into the mixed game series. So I'm going from this emotional invested thing to something where it's meh. The comparison is not really there, right? Same thing for the PLO. I stone bubbled the PLO. I stone bubbled it. Came 8th. I was emotionally invested in not every hand, but every street, every bet, every, like super emotionally invested, which is great. And then got to jump into the PLO series, the 10Ks after that. That's very
Daniel,
difficult.
can I ask you if that, because it said Super High Roller Bowl in the title, or was it the money, or was it a combination of both?
Well, it's obviously the money, it's the buy-in amount, it's the caliber of play, and it's also the structure, right? So I like playing deeper structured events. So, you play deep stack poker. The Super High Roller Bowl is very deep stacked. Same thing with the Super High Roller Bowl PLO. The final table took forever. That's very different than these 2-day tournaments that just boom, boom, boom. You sort of get it in after a while. And and those get you, they're more intense. They're they require more energy and more focus. And the thing about it is, when you're done with it, I'm just empty. I have no mental capacity to it's very difficult to go from that, right, to then the 5K PLO, right, in a couple days, where I get 2 rebuys and I got 4 hours to rebuy, and I get the Jack 8 6-4 with 1 suit. Okay, which wouldn't even be a consideration playing, 300, big blinds deep in the Super High Rollable 100K, where you don't have any rebuys as well. I much prefer playing in events that don't have any rebuys at all. And people go like, "Whoa, but Daniel, you're lying because you rebuy." No, you're actually an idiot. You're a moron. It's not. I like no rebuys better. Just because they're, I like them better doesn't mean I'm not going to rebuy. You dumb idiots who say this. I'm not. Anyway, there's a couple.
How is this different from the World Series grind? So explain this to me, because the World Series grind is at least as long as this grind that you were on with the GG and the PGT, both series. How does it feel different? Because it feels like you're still up for event 67 of the WSOP when you've been playing 39 days in a row.
I think the big difference with the World Series grind, the way that I normally do it, is 6 weeks before the World Series of Poker, I don't play anything. I'm relaxed. Then I go balls to the wall for 7 weeks. And then I know I got a couple months after that where I can recharge my batteries and get, regenerate. I didn't get that break this year, right? Because I played, but after the World Series, I started playing again, the GG series, and then this and rolled right into it. So I didn't get enough of a break in between. So essentially, it's like adding another World Series of Poker right after the World Series of Poker for me. It's part of the reason, everyone wonders why I never played a Triton. And listen, Triton does the best. Triton does everything right in terms of when they schedule things, because they schedule before the series or after the series. Unfortunately for me, I play the series, so those are not available. I can't play during those times. It's just, I have to be more mindful. So looking back on what worked, what didn't work, I thought I played a lot of really good stretches of very good poker. Some of the best poker I've ever played in my life. And then some stretches where, I made mistakes and could have done better. And that's okay. I still have December, Bahamas, World Series Poker Bahamas, to hit a big one, maybe bink my way out of the hole. And if not, so be it. I mean, over my life, I've been tracking and I've been posting my results publicly. Had one losing year where I lost 1.2. And then another one where it was 40K, which is essentially break even. But other than that, I've been able to win every year, and that's an anomaly. That's rare, because you think of a year, a poker year, that's maybe 150, 200 events tops. That's a small sample size. People that play online can tell you. They go thousands of events where they have these swings where they go up and down. For me to have won consistently year after year, that's unlikely. That's very rare to have happen. So I've been blessed in that regard. And next year, I'm going to focus a little bit, once again, more on, quality over quantity. So for all those that tell me what to do, I've been doing this 30 years. I know what needs to be done. Okay. Thank you for the advice, unsolicited, but I'm good. I'll pass. Thank you.
Right?
Have you ever thought about TRT?
Yeah, right. Exactly. You know what I've gotten? I'm not even kidding. Fucking people say you need more animal protein. Well, that'll solve it. Just give me a cow. Let me look if I can eat a raw cow, and that'll do it. Yep. Then I'll be good to go.
Matisau tweeted, I think it was just talking about Sean, and it's interesting, right? In this vein, he was talking about Sean Deeb, I think, and he was talking about playing less of volume, and Sean went after him about.
I saw that.
That's kind of dumb, but it's interesting because given that you have these commitments, right? You're going to play the GG series, whatever it is, where it goes, and you want to play the Super High Roller Bowl that follows the World Series of Poker. I wonder if you look towards the World Series of Poker next year and think, well, maybe it's better if I don't play, 70 events or whatever you ended up playing, and scale it back a bit because you have this busy fall to come into, fall and winter.
No. Nothing is sacrificed. The World Series is number one priority. We don't scale back the world. You don't scale back that number under any circumstances for any other thing. Everything is secondary. Everything takes a back seat to the World Series of Poker in the summer. So I would never say, well, let me scale back this so I could play the Poker Masters. With all due respect, it's a fun event, but it ain't the World Series of Poker, right? So all my energy goes into that. Not worried about it, frankly. And I find and I teach this to people when I do coaching or whatever, in that anytime you have what we call like a breakdown or things going poorly, it's an opportunity for a breakthrough to sort of tweak and fix things, right? And, for me, it's a good reminder of all right, Daniel, you need to take your rest. Having said that, Amanda always says, well, if you don't feel like playing, why don't you just not play, right? And I was like, well, if I'm in a series and I'm going for player of the year or anything like that, even if I don't feel like playing, I'm still better off with what my goals are, firing a bullet or two, and then maybe I get motivated to play well. It typically doesn't work out well, to be frank, right? But sometimes, occasionally here and there, I'll get lucky in a pot or two and be like, oh, wait a minute, now I got chips, let's go.
Interesting. Okay. To wrap up the PLO PGT series, Daniel Ging, I believe that's how you pronounce it, was the big winner. He took over 500,000 home across the series. He more than tripled his lifetime earnings, which shows you he's probably a PLO cash player playing a bunch of tournaments because he saw the value. So that wrapped that up. World Series of Poker Europe is underway, Daniel. 15-event series in Rosvadov, 2 weeks in November. Culminates with a 10K Euro main event starting November 10th. I'm guessing you're not flying over to Rosvadov. Not a lot of pros over there from what I can see. Do you think the vibe has changed for the World Series of Poker Europe? Obviously, there's a bunch of Europeans. I get it. That's a event that they're all going to go to, but not a ton of people from North America rolling over there.
So here's what I think's going on with that one specifically. Is it's just a matter of scheduling right now. Because if you look at what just happened in Vegas, right, a lot of the PLO players and all that, they were here. In addition to that, then they're over at Triton because they had a no limit series and a PLO series. Yeah. So essentially now, it's just this time period has become a lot more robust in terms of offerings. And anytime you have that, you're going to splinter the playing crowd. We'll have obviously the same sort of situation in December and going forward. But yeah, listen, it's, if you're a professional poker player, you pick your spots. And you can't play everywhere all at the same time. So you just pick the ones that make the most sense to you. And I think next year, I have an idea. I think next year, if, scheduled a little bit better, it might really crush actually.
Well, and taking it off the player of the year is probably has harmed it substantially, I imagine.
A little bit. Yeah. Literally that's what 5 to 10 people tops that, vie for that in Rosvadov who are doing the crazy thing.
Speaking of Triton, Ike Haxton, who came off the Super High Roller Bowl with the win in the Hold'em and the deep run in the PLO, he rolled over to Triton and has picked up about $1.6 million in 4 cashes over there. Just continuing his role for 2023. I know he actually, why don't we run back to that? So the PLO event, the No Limit Hold'em event that he won, the Super High Roller Bowl, you talked about the punting, he tried to punt to you. And I don't think we talked about that hand because you weren't on the last podcast, but folded around to you in the small blind. And you had ace queen, you limp, I would imagine, because you're trying to induce Ike here. Ike has ace 4, if memory serves, open shoves like 24, 25 big blinds, and you snap 28 big blinds, and you snap them with the ace queen, and you take the bad one there.
Oh, it was worse than that. Okay, because it was like the run out was just crazy.
Okay,
because the run out comes like.
So hang on, before you talk about the run out, talk about
hold on. Let me. The flop is 4, 6, 7 with 3 hearts. So he has ace 4, right? And I have the ace of hearts. Right. And like the turn is a 7. So now I could win with, an ace, a queen, a 7, a 5, a heart. And anyway, it's just like torture. Even after the flop, I was 50-50, even though he flopped the 4. But yeah, the run out was sick. But the hand itself. Okay. So here's what's something funny about Ike. Ike says the only time he ever uses time banks is because he can't count. And he's not even kidding. He's joking about it, but he's serious. He's like, online, everything's already done for you. You can see how many chips you have, right? And it was actually, when I look back at it, he was like trying to count my stack. He had no idea how much I had.
Oh,
he was trying to look at my chips being like, what the hell? How much is that? I don't know. Fuck it. All in, right? So in this case, in this scenario, obviously it's just a really not a good play with ace four off. It's way too wide to chip 28 big blinds, especially in a situation. It's even worse against someone like me, because the better play, if you are going to raise there, is to make it 3.5x. And then you can comfortably fold when I limp shove, because my limp shove range is going to be nutted. When I'm limp shoving, your ace four is doing really badly against that, right? So you could do that blindly if you wanted to, but to just shove 28 bigs when I'm limping my entire range there, it's just unnecessary. It's like, okay, so you want to play aggressive? Great. You want to play a big stack? Sure. But you can push me around for 3.5 to 4x in the same way, except you get the escape route of when I do jam, you can comfortably, muck your ace four and not really worry about, oh no, what if I folded the best hand? Like once in a blue moon, I had king, queen suited or king, jack or whatever. Even in those cases, you're not giving much up, right?
Yeah. Is there history there with you and Ike? And then do you think Ike realizes and like, oops, I shouldn't have done that? Or I
would say that likely he probably thinks that, I'm the type of player that would overfold after limping. So he thinks I'm going to be folding a lot more than probably GTO, right? Which, is potentially true. But I think there's another aspect of my range that he misses is that my limping range is much stronger than your average person because, well, first of all, I don't raise my top end and I also fold a lot more out of the small blind. So what that does is by, let's say, for example, just in that spot, folding, let's say, for example, it's correct to fold the bottom 7% of your range in the small there. Let's say if I'm folding 18%, what that leaves is a much stronger range overall. Right. So a bigger percentage of the hands that I do limp with, so against the player that doesn't, like, let's look at an extreme example, right? Let's say, for example, you played against a player in the small blind and they only limp or fold, but they fold half the time. Okay. What does that tell you about what they have? They don't have 8-3. They don't have 9-4. They maybe the worst hand they have is like Jack 10, Jack 9 suited or some shit like that. So you don't want to raise that, right? You don't want to raise against the range that strong.
So that, or he just thought you had 16 big blinds, and then it's a perfectly.
I genuinely think that he just couldn't, because he was staring at it. He was looking. How much is that? How much is that? I almost said in the moment, I was like, no, and I didn't want. I almost said it's too much for you to punt. I was going to say that. I didn't say that, and then because obviously I want action.
You want the call, yeah.
Right. Like some people might say, well, is it an ICM spot? Not really, because there's still 8 left, and I believe it paid 4 spots. And with a deep structure the way that it was, that's a long ways away, guys. It's a long ways away.
It is interesting. Like, I mean, here's a guy who plays all the time, is a world-class player, but it happens to everybody. Sometimes you just look at a stack and you're just like, for some reason, your brain just stops braining. And you're just like,
oops. He did say, oops.
He said,
oops. Yeah, you can't really hear it because he wears a mask. He covers his face. But I was sitting next to him so I could hear him, and he said, oops. Yeah, that was an oops. But because, I mean, look at it. Like, I win that pot. I've got 56 big blinds. And, there's 8 left, and I'm in good shape. But anyway.
So let's talk about Ike's 2023. He's got 31 cashes for just about $16 million. I know I'm trying to remember, Daniel, a couple of years ago, we talked about Ike and you weren't sure that maybe I'm paraphrasing, but you weren't sure that he had a winning career in high rollers. Do you think that, obviously this punt aside, do you think Ike has gotten better? Do you think he's running good? Where do you place Ike in the hierarchy of the nosebleed tournament players?
It's really, it's a good example of why it's such a difficult question. Why, so, your average poker fan or viewer, they look at the end results and they go, well, this proves this, right? Michael Adamo crushed everybody and everyone was like, well, that's Stu Unger. He's never going to lose. You know what I mean? And now, he hasn't done quite as well since. Fedor Holtz had his run. Dan, there's always somebody who has this outlier, and it's usually a combination of a couple things. It's confidence. It creates sort of an aura about you where people may be like playing, making more mistakes against you or whatever the case may be. And also, guys, there's a lot of luck in poker. There just is. Like, if you win enough, if you like play aggressive style and you win enough like 20/80s or 25/75s in huge spots, or that you hold the ones where you are 75, like that alone, like tells the story over these short sample sizes. Now, he's obviously, one of the top players. He's on a heater, right? Now, do I expect him to repeat that next year? I would bet heavily against it, and that's taking nothing away from him or anybody, right? But nobody's going to rate to do that well. But if you take 40 people, one person likely is, right? So you took 40 of the best players, have them play the full schedule. Somebody of that group, kind of like, imagine this, 40 equally, like a lottery ball, right? Like you take a ball out, there's 40 in there, right? And each day you take one out, and then you do that like 100 times. Oh my God, ball number 5 came up 7 times. So ball number 5 is the best ball, right? It's so much better than ball number 1, ball number 1 never even came out. Ball number 1 was terrible.
My first year university finance class, we had 200 people in the room. He had us all flip coins. We had a coin in our seat. Everybody who just flipped a tail, sit down. Half the room sits down. Everybody who flips a tail, sit down. So we do it. Get to eventually the 2 guys or one guy and a girl who like have flipped heads 9 times in a row, and we're like, there's the 2 best stock pickers in this room, right? Because that's what I was stock picking. Because if you look at some guy who's like, oh my God, this guy returned 30% above the market for 9 years in a row, it's like, yeah, somebody had to, or somebody had to.
Exactly right. So there are so many great players at the highest levels, right? That obviously there's a difference between them. But ultimately, what's going to show up in results in a year span, the number one predictor is going to be luck. It's going to be that spot where you're playing because everyone's doing it. Everyone's got a $1 million flip with a 56-44. Everyone has those at the top level. Question is, if you win like you said 9 in a row or something like that, you win all the money. But then you're going to have stretches where you go the other way. So I try to focus more on just how difficult people are to play against, overall, and in terms of how I rate them. And that doesn't always necessarily equate to the guys who are winning the most, because I know better. It's like results don't tell the whole story.
Well, it's interesting, right? Because we talked earlier about your career results, Daniel, over, 16 years, 15, 16 years that you've been releasing your results. And like you said, before this year, we have 1 losing year. So the biggest predictor is luck to some degree, except for the fact, except for the fact that you get to play,
I would say too, to be really, to be even more precise, luck plays a much bigger role in high rollers, right? Because your EV is lower, right? Or your ROI is going to be lower. If I'm playing 1Ks and $1,500 buy-ins, when I cash, I'm cashing for, maybe I do really well. I win like 50 buy-ins or 60 buy-ins. Yeah. You play these high rollers. Sometimes you put in 1 buy-in or 2 buy-ins and you're playing for 12, right? You win the tournament. You won like 12 buy-ins. So in some senses, there's 2 ways to look at it. In one sense, you realize your equity. It seems as though you realize your ROI more often because unlike, let's say if you play a tournament with like 5,000 entries and that's all you play, you're rarely going to hit those big scores. Just rare, right? So you can have really big swings in that regard. But because the skill level is so much weaker, like if I only played 1,500s, I could probably I could almost guarantee that if I played 1,500 and lower onlys, that I could find a way to win. I would lay a price that I could have a winning year almost every year. Whereas in high rollers, that's not the case. Okay. In high roller, listen, I didn't bink anything. I didn't miss this. The 300K super high roller didn't cash. The PLO super high roller ball, that's 400K right there, right? And then the World Series, I didn't really do so great in the high rollers there either. Over again, a small sample size, which kind of dwarfs it too. Because I felt like I had a pretty good series this year, oddly. I had like 20 something cashes and I made a real ton of deep runs, like 3Ks and 2Ks. I was like, these 10,000 player fields, I was down to like 20 or 30 or whatever. That doesn't pay the bills though. If you don't get the 250K, the 100K, whatever, overall your result looks like, wow, you lost $1 million. You must have had a bad series. But I'm like, it felt like a good series, oddly enough.
So looking at the last 12 months, we mentioned Ike Haxton, 31 cashes, almost 16 million. Second, do you guys know who's in second place? Take a stab in the dark. Who might be second over the last 12 months?
Chris Brewer,
$14 million cash. 14 million in cashes. Fantastic.
He's a perfect example. Chris Brewer is a perfect example. He went through about 2 years before this, where it was like retire time, right? He couldn't win anything. right? What, did he all of a sudden go from being clueless to great? No. Chris Brewer had a really bad run. Like, we were there. Like, we could saw the emotion inside of him, He was losing every all in. He bubbled the super high roller bowl like 4 times or something like that. Like, he was playing well. Obviously now, he's running a little bit better. Confidence, all that stuff helps too. But, the number one differentiator between him losing, like being one of the biggest losers, frankly, to, now, winning is luck.
There's probably a lot of people giving him advice on Twitter on how to do
Maybe
better.
That's what it is. Or he shaved his mullet. He got rid of the mullet. Maybe that was
it. Third is Dan Weinman, who won the main event, obviously. Fourth is a familiar name. Jason Kuhn has won $12 million in the last 12 months. Perennial guy who will show up on this list over time. Luck or not luck, has he been running good for many years? Kuhn just seems to do it year after year.
Yeah, Kuhn's a top player. Kuhn is like very in tune with all the theory that's going on at the highest levels. He's also a poker player too. He's not a robot. He's not like just, he understands when to deviate and stuff like that. And he shows up for the big ones, right? He's a Triton guy, basically. He's a high roller Triton. You don't see him in the studio playing 10Ks and rarely a 25K. He's big he's all or nothing. He does the opposite. He saves his energy for Tritons. And obviously the Tritons are the biggest tour that we have. So when you hear the number 12 million, it sounds like a lot, and it is, but there's millions and millions of dollars in buy-ins that went into that as well, right? So if you saw a guy cash for 4 million, you'd be like, what a year. I'm like, yeah, only lost 100, only lost 1 million. Where Jason, obviously with 12 million, there's no way he spent that much in buy-ins. He's a consistent performer, and he always chooses the highest buy-in events to play in.
Those trading ones are interesting. I watch a lot of them on YouTube. I'll sit there and watch the live streams, and there's a lot of names that you'll never see, right? That you won't see at the World Series, that you won't see at the Super High Roller Bowl or whatever. They're businessmen. They live in that part of the world that they're not going to venture over to the U.S. for whatever reason. And I know you mentioned it earlier, Daniel. People ask you why you don't go over the trades. Can you see yourself in the future of carving this out to get your schedule surrounded by the Triton Series here and there, maybe in London or maybe in Monte Carlo?
I definitely do see it happening, right? I just don't know when. It won't be like right before the World Series or right after the World Series for sure. But I'll definitely, it's on my list of things that I want to do in next year. I'll probably actually next year I may actually travel more next year. We'll see. A lot of things may be shaken up next year. I'm not going to worry about next year till next year. I still have hope that in December there's a couple big buy-ins. I can bink one of those, the 100K, the 50K, the 25K, whatever it is, and finish strong.
I was trying to look up because I saw Adam mentioned the sort of unknown players that go over Triton, and one of them we interviewed on our old show, Elton Sang, the Vancouver Hong Kong, who finished third in the super high roll. I think he had a big chip lead going in the final day. What was that?
Sorry.
Ended up falling to Dan Smith, who ends up winning. But it was weird because I was trying to see who was at the final table. If you go into Hendon Mob right now and you look up the Triton Invitational, it says Dan Smith in first place, 3.87 million. Unknown player in second place for 2.7 million, and then Elton in third with 1.8 million. That's the most bizarre thing. I've never seen unknown player for a $2.7 million score. So I guess that person really values his privacy. I think that's an Austrian flag. I'm not sure what flag that is. No, that's not Austria. Something. It's too red.
The tournaments are fascinating to watch. Obviously, the money's huge, so that makes it fun. But you get to see guys who you don't normally get to see, like Elton, like a lot of the guys who won't come to the U.S. anymore.
Yeah,
it is certainly fun to watch and follow, and it has a huge impact on the overall money list. The year, I know Daniel, you've been on it for a long time, but all these guys who play 100K buy-ins and 200K buy-ins are going to pass you because they min cash or whatever they end up doing, and you're going to get passed. And sort of this list, does it lose its credibility because maybe the 12th place guy on the all-time money list isn't actually a winning player because he's, paid way more in buy. I mean, it'd be hard, I guess, for the 12th place guy, but you get my point. But
you know what though? It's the evolution, and it happens. And I'll tell you my personal experience with it. Right when I started out playing, in the late 1990s and the early 2000s, there was a money list, and TJ Cloutier, Men the Master, John Benetti, Miami John Cernuto. they were all tops on that list, playing 1Ks, $300 buy-ins, $500 buy-in, and the like. 2003, 2004 rolls around with the WPT, the World Series of Poker. There's 10Ks going on or whatever. I get hot. All of a sudden, this kid who's just started playing the last couple of years, now I'm number one on that list because I did so in 10Ks where everyone else was doing those mostly in $300 buy-in and $1,000 buy-ins. So now we've seen an evolution. We went to 25Ks, went to above. So it just is what it is. And, it doesn't, the list never really meant anything anyway. It was just something for us to look at and go, wow, look at that. But ultimately, like, how do you look at that and think it has any meaning when it doesn't factor in number of buy-ins, number of events played, all that kind of stuff? It's just a number you can look at and go, oh, wow, look at that. But I don't think it's not like other sports. It's not like, I don't know, it's even like golf, even though golf is similar with the money list there because, it's, again, based on number of events played. But with poker, with golf, you don't lose any money. And when you don't win.
Yeah, the closest you could do is buy-ins one, right? Like if there was a way to figure out how many times a buy-in that you've won, but even then, that still doesn't count. It's not even. Yeah,
there's like none of it really matters again because people say, well, who has the best ROI in tournament poker? Well, Jamie Gold,
right,
or like Carlos Morton.
Wyman.
I would say Carlos Mortensen. He was up there with
Where is Carlos? Where is Carlos these days?
Carlos is he's home. I believe he's in Argentina right now. I don't know. I'm not sure. I haven't talked to him I talked to him a few months ago, actually.
Oh, good. Glad to hear he's good. And probably not playing a ton of poker anymore?
No, I don't know. Yeah, we didn't talk poker. We talked life stuff.
Good. Yeah. Glad he's okay. I know you guys have been busy, but High Stakes Poker Season 11 is coming to an end. And for those who haven't watched, get your PokerGo subscription and get there and watch it because it's as good as it's ever been. And having AJ and Nick Schulman in the box calling the action, I'm a big Gabe fan. I loved Gabe back in the day, but I'll tell you what, this pair is crushing it. They're doing a great job. They know when to stop and they know when to listen because the storytelling this year with the cast of crew that has been on there has been lights out. It's been fantastic. It started off, obviously the High Stakes Poker as the series goes by, as the season goes by, guys come in and come out. Andrew Roble, JRB's been there for most of it. Rick Solomon, Rob Young, Farrah Galfond, Jay Kuhn, we talked about her early. Matt Berkey made an appearance. Jen Tilley, Eric Person, lots of others, but it's been incredibly entertaining. And Solomon, Rick Solomon, of course, he of the high stakes private games has told some amazing stories. One of them was the most recent episode, and I think we pulled it, Ross. Can you just roll this story because it's so good that I wanted to roll it on the podcast.
Okay. Everybody see that? I think you should be able to hear it.
So I'm playing Sam. Oh yeah, it's like the fourth time I'm playing. Everybody beating him. I lost the first two times. Mm-hmm. I'm smashing him. I'm winning some millions. We're playing at the poker condo. It's like 10 in the morning. The dude starts saying to the devil, I'm making a deal with the devil. I'm making a deal with the devil. You're going down. And starts doing all this weird. Okay. All of a sudden, anything that could possibly go wrong goes wrong. I go from like winning like 2.5 million to like losing $1.5 million. And I'm like sweating. It's like 3 in the afternoon. I'm like, I don't know if I can beat this guy. I made a deal with it's like, like 6 or 7 o'clock at night, he runs out of cocaine. We got to go up to his house, go get right. So we go up to his house and this dude never folded. You know what I mean? Never folded. And all of a sudden he like starts folding. I'll be like, I pair and flush draw and I'll just jam, he'll fold. You know what I mean? And then he'll want to see it. And every time he hit it, there's like 4 hands. I was like, oh, he forgot he made the deal with it. Well, I'm still going to win, right? Right? So now we have a huge pot. We have like a $4.5 million pot. I got ace-6 and he's got ace-jack all in pre-flop. And we run it 3 times on every single turn. I hit the 6.
Wow. That's the devil right there.
It's one of the craziest things I ever saw.
Wow. Yeah. That story is so good, right? Like, oh yeah, just casually, we run a $4.5 million pot all in pre-flop and I have ace-6. It's just like... And then he hits a 6 all 3 times on a guy who just made a deal with the devil. Like, I mean, such a great story. It's fantastic. So there's lots of those. If you tune in, JRB obviously is great at telling stories. Fantastic season, and I can't wait to see the end of it. Danny, you gonna stick your nose in the? You're a tournament guy now. Do you play many cash? Like, when was the last time you played a cash game?
I got asked that the other day. When you talk about not caring, like, in some tournaments, whatever, I just don't give a shit at all. Like, I find it really boring. I just do. Like, you don't get a trophy. Ben Lamb asked me this the other day. It's like, you just play to make money. When I started playing poker professionally, I played cash games as a job so that I could play tournaments. Okay. I don't need the job anymore. It's a job. It's like, I get for some people it might be fun, but for me, it's just clocking in, clocking out. And as a result, like, I just don't really give a shit. And then my play looks like that. And, there's like, I don't have anything to prove. You know what I mean? Like, I don't care about the money that much. So I just don't, it's not a world that I'm ever going to delve into. But there is a show that I'm excited about. Hope we're going to talk about it because I'm very.
We got that coming up. But I wanted to just say, so I'm back in the streets. I'm playing every day. I'd venture to say that I might be right there with you as far as hours played in the last little while. And I find the exact opposite. I find cash games to be fun, entertaining, and tournaments to be like a job where I have to be there at this time and I have to stay until this goes. It's interesting how, I guess probably because it's more about the money for me than it is for you, and you're about the accomplishments. So, but it's interesting how the different perspective that happens there, and it's I'm going to
tournament, right? Tournament has a beginning, has a middle, has an ending. Cash game session is just the same. You know what I mean? It's like in Rounders when Kanish says, "How you doing, Kanish?" He goes, "The same." Like, because he's a cash game grinder. His life has there's nothing exciting going on. He sits his leather ass down in the jail, plays 10-20 at the Chesterfield. He tries to make one big bet an hour, squeeze it out so he can pay for his food for his kids and his family. He doesn't have pipe dreams of winning the World Series of Poker on ESPN. His kids eat, right? Boring. Mike McD says, you know what? YOLO. I'm going to Vegas. I'm taking the whole roll. We're going to play the World Series of Poker. That's fun for me.
Yeah,
I'm with you, but you can see Adam's point. Like, the tournament says you show up, you got to play. You feel like leaving, too bad.
Yeah.
Yep.
No, there's no point.
You're going to eat dinner at this time. This is when you eat dinner. You don't get to eat dinner later. You eat dinner now.
Cash games, certainly you have more freedom. I just did one the other day. I was like sort of teaching people. And I said, listen, if you want to be a professional poker player, you must use cash games as your bread and butter. You have the freedom. You can choose to. And someone who says, oh, it's very difficult to live a life as a poker player. I'm like, the exact opposite of that is true. If you play cash games for a living, you can formulate your life however you want. You can, you can set up a sleep regimen. You can work out. You can do whatever you want. You can leave whenever you want. Your boss doesn't say, no, you got to be here till 5. You have the freedom. The issue with a lot of poker players is they lack the discipline to create sort of a fulfilled life in that regard, right? So instead, they just end up playing till 8 in the morning, eating a bunch of crap, sleep all day, and then do it again kind of thing, right? But, as far as the opportunity to live like a really robust lifestyle as a poker player, it's easier than most jobs.
Cash games is fantastic. Take it from somebody who has spent the last 5 years in a corporate environment and who is no longer in that. I'm now looking at places to go play poker where I can go and stay and get an Airbnb for a month and play poker in Florida or play poker in Austin, Texas, or go to Europe. The world is my oyster. I can go anywhere and play poker. I couldn't do that 6 months ago because
we're talking Rounders. Adam sounds like Mike right after Joe leaves him right now. Like he's ready to hit the road.
It's true. If you're out there and there's a good PLO game in your area of the world, leave a comment because it
sounds like a great reality TV. You could do a reality TV vlog of just Adam goes around North America or Europe playing PLO.
I could do that. You know what? There's a lot of Hold'em vlogs. I was thinking about that. I'll talk to Ross. There's not many PLO vlogs. I think a PLO vlog might be interesting on YouTube. I could do that.
Game of the future.
Yeah, it is. All right. So,
played it for 15 years. It's the game of the future.
You seem incapable of using a good camera, though. So we might have to talk about that.
All right. Daniel teased it earlier. We have a pretty exciting topic to talk about. We've got a new reality show from GG Poker coming out called the Game of Golds. And there's been a teaser video, Daniel, that kind of says what's happening, kind of doesn't. It's a bit of a mystery. It's Survivor meets Poker After Dark. 16 contestants playing down to a winner through various poker challenges, I'm guessing, to take home.
Let me read this. So I'll give you the synopsis, because like a lot of people in the media were asking, like, well, because you don't want to give too much away with this, because it's very interesting. So we were curious internally, like, what can we say? So I'm going to read this verbatim, so that way, like, we don't give away anything we're not supposed to. All right, ready?
Go.
So this is poker's very first reality survival series, 100% real with no scripts. There are multiple game formats in Game of Gold. However, the design of each format is completely new, and they were also designed to take the players out of their comfort zone. So you can start making some guesses at what that means. In the trailer, you can see the players expressing emotion, showing their true characters that have never shown anywhere else. There is no commentary in this show. All commentary is replaced by player interviews and reactions, making the show much more exciting and entertaining, also providing the viewers a completely new experience compared to watching normal poker shows that have no emotion in a lot of cases. Players are forced, you got to keep your poker face. We suggest to all fans around the world to watch Game of Gold, and we confidently say it will be a brand new, entertaining, or shocking experience to everyone, and it will help them also understand and relate to the characters at a much deeper level. You talked about one of the players, Charlie Carroll, Jungle Man, myself. There are some personalities in here. And I got to say, I've been doing poker shows for 30 years. So anyone who's like, oh, this sounds tough, this is the best poker show I've ever been involved in. There is no second place. It is so cool, so much fun, so interactive, so well done. The production on this thing, we were talking about this earlier. There was like 100 cameras on, 20, like the entire time.
It's a Big Brother. It's almost like a Big Brother thing, right?
Yeah. So to sort of touch a little bit more on that, they talked about no commentary, right? So there will be somewhat of, team formats, if you will. So imagine us four, we have like sort of a task to do or whatever. Well, Terrence is out there doing it. Me, Adam, and Ross are watching it. We got a monitor. So what you'll have is you'll see Terrence doing something and me and Adam going, what the fuck is Terrence doing right now? Right? That's going to be your commentary.
These are poker-related tasks? We'll see.
It's poker. It's a poker show. It's a poker show, all the way poker. But yeah, so we'll have rooting interest as well, right? Because we're gonna need Terrence to perform. And if Terrence doesn't perform, you saw in some of the clips in the trailer, if you saw Yo Viral and Jungle Man says to him, he's like, shut the fuck up, right? You get heated in this show. I will tell you, frankly, me and Kuhn, I pick on the right guy, right? Me and Kuhn get into it, where I don't want to spoil it, but me and Kuhn almost wager $500K on the spot on a prop bet. Like, we're like, bullshit, that's not this and that's not. So there's actual arguments. And what's great about it with the reality show is this. When you're on a poker show, typically, the camera's on when it's on and when it's off, right? But it's off too. It's on all the time. So we're going to get all the dirt. Okay. You're going to get all the stuff that, what happens when you're on reality TV is after the first hour, when it's like 7 hours, 8 hours into it, you forget it's even on camera. So you might say dumb shit like, what the hell is he doing? It's so cool, so fun, so unique. And the cool thing for everybody listening is like, well, where can I watch it? You can watch it on GG Poker's YouTube for free. November 8th, it's going to be episodic. And I'll say this, Koreans understand reality TV better than anybody. If you ever watch Physical 100 on Netflix, it'll sort of give you a gist or an idea as to kind of like what to expect here a little bit. Not that we're going to be doing any physical challenges or anything like that, but I think you're going to see some epic behind the scenes stuff. And it's really a great way. Like we think about the way poker's been made in the last 10 years. What's been innovative? It's the same shit. Okay, live stream. Live stream what? 7 people around a poker table, shooting the shit, telling a poker story here and there, playing a hand. Cool, right? Take some clips out of that. The same regurgitated stuff over and over and over. There's nothing wrong with that, but this is totally new, unique, and different way to get to know the players themselves. We used to do that back in the day, on those World Series broadcasts where you people's homes and you get to know them, and you got to see my mom making me lunch and that kind of stuff. That was new and innovative. Today, this is going to change the game, and the hope is that all poker content creators out there see this show and go, you know what? We need to do more of this. Why? Because it's going to grow the game. It's going to grow the game immensely. This is something you can watch, if you're a poker aficionado, and also it'll be interesting to those people who enjoy either reality TV or playing poker casually. It hits all the marks. It's amazing.
Listen, I'm a guy who I hate reality TV. I don't like it at all. But I've always thought that poker players are fascinating, and you've definitely got a great cast of personalities. And that thing you referenced, Jungleman in the teaser, I fucking laughed my ass off because it already seems so Jungleman. Like that's just I saw a quarter of a second, and I was like, that's Jungleman.
For a second, Jungleman and Charlie Carroll in the back watching Adam play a hand and discussing the way to play it, and Charlie saying, he didn't feel it, and Jungle saying you got to. It's like. So what you'll see is, and part of the idea I think was spawned out of this, is like watching, we did a show a while back, myself, David Williams, Ali Najad, and I can't remember the fourth right now. Anyway, we did a show and we're watching the poker, and we're all talking. We're not on camera. We're all talking shit, That's the stuff you want to hear. Yeah. You want to hear people talking shit. So, me and Adam are watching Terrence and go, this guy, why does he keep calling? Like, what the fuck is this? This guy obviously has it every time and he still pays it off. And, then he's costing us money or he's costing us opportunity. So it creates, I don't know. It's just you're going to have to wait and see, but I think you're going to want to tune into this every week on GG Poker's.
I think we're going to have even more questions after we watch the first episode. Because I have questions now. I feel like I'm going to have a lot more questions after it comes out.
Yeah. And, you asked the question. I don't want to spoil it more than we have, in the sense of like, I think it's one of those things where you just want to watch it and see and get a sense of what the hell's going on there. Because the truth is, and I say this in the trailer, we didn't know what we're doing.
Yeah.
We show up to this place. It's all like, it's kind of secretive. We don't know what the hell's going on. I'm like, am I going right into the Squid Game? Which a lot of people ask, why is first prize $456,000? If you watched Squid Game, you'll understand the importance of player number 456, right? So that was sort of a play off that. And I'm super stoked to watch it. I've seen the first episode a while ago, but I want to see it like with the final edits and things. It's so cool.
The cast looks awesome. I love that David Williams is in there. He's fun to watch and makes great TV. Jungleman as well, obviously, for sure.
And you got the killers too. You got Fedor, you got Jason Kuhn, you got Jungleman, you got Yo Viral. It's a really good cast.
Yeah, that's awesome. Quick question. The decision, obviously, this is something that probably is very polished. The production value is there, given that there's a lot of streaming services available. The decision to go GG YouTube, obviously, is to grow the GG YouTube channel. I get that. But is there a bigger play here with Netflix, with somebody else that's possible for you guys?
Well, you know what's interesting about what you just said? GG Poker put a lot of money into this, right? Giving away for free for YouTube, right? That's not the big vision and goal. I mean, it is, but the idea is to sort of grow the game entirely, make it free, no paywalls, no force you to. Everybody can watch this. We want everybody to share clips. And frankly, we want people to copy it. We'd like to see more content creators that's innovative and unique and different because I kind of agree. I don't know if you guys do too, but it's same old shit. It's a little bit same old shit. We're seeing this, the Poker Go, the final tables, they're all like the same cookie cutter thing, and they're fun and they're great, but they're not new, unique, and exciting. And I hope that this sparks, whether it's competitors, whoever it is in the poker space, we all need to do a better job of growing the game. And I think this show was a big step forward, and GG just foot the bill, if you will, to sort of spark this new opportunity to like show poker in a totally unique and different light.
Yeah, I'm very much reminded of the Ultimate Fighter reality TV series. That was around 2006 or something like that. The UFC had been around for a long time at that point. It had been around 12 years, but it was sort of like this thing that some people sort of knew about, and it was a circus. But when the Ultimate Fighter came out, and you got like 8 personalities from this team and 8 personalities from the other team, they all started fighting each other, and people started having favorites. That's when the UFC really took off, and it hit its golden years in the late 2000s and the 2010s, and that led us to the Ronda Rousey, Conor McGregor, the juggernaut that it is now. But that was actually like a very cheaply produced reality TV show that ended up having a huge ROI for the UFC because, you know, it just wasn't mainstream before. And then it was on this, and, you know, we talk about this being for free on YouTube. They paid for it to be on Spike TV, which was not a big channel, but it was an investment for them to put together the show. And then it was just probably the best investment they ever made, just zillions of times in dollars, just putting eyeballs on the sport.
Yeah, you know, and what it is, it's so smart, but it's so forward thinking. When I think too often, whether it's poker or other things, I think about like the immediate ROI on this thing immediately, but you're not thinking about this fact. How about if poker grows, we grow the space? Who is that going to benefit? It's going to bet the leader. It's going to benefit the leaders, you know, which is GG Poker, obviously, when it comes to the online poker space. So the idea or the thinking behind it is grow the game, right? Grow poker, create this show, get more people interested. And that in the end, you know, it's a long-term play, but I love it. I think it's great. I hope this becomes a regular thing because I think after you see this, you're going to get a sense of why it's going to be so cool, even from the first episode.
That's interesting, right? Because that's almost the Isai Scheinberg mentality. Rising water floats all boats, right? And it's great that GG thinks like that. Grow the game first, and instead of me or us, it's about the game, and we're going to benefit because we're the leader. Stars back in the day were the leader, so Isai did also follow the same philosophy, and that's really cool to see coming from the leader in the online and live tournament series stuff. That's great. I mentioned earlier, I'm playing a lot. We're going to wrap up, but is it okay if I throw one hand by you guys? I'm curious as to on a PLO cash game hand that I played. So I'm playing a bunch down. There's a casino here in Vancouver called The Park. Really good game, a lot of fun. PLO cash. And we play this hand, and there's a straddle under the gun. The early position guy makes it 5 big blinds. 4 calls to me. I'm on about 250 big blinds, and I've got the 5, 5, 6, 7 double suited.
And you're on the button?
I'm in the small blind.
Okay. And it's 5-way action.
It's 5-way action. I call the big blind and the straddle call. So there's 7 ways to the flop for 5 big blinds. The flop comes 5, 8, 9. 2 spades.
What the fuck? Okay.
So, flop bottom set, nut straight, but I don't have any spades.
Oh, you poor thing.
Well, this becomes important.
Yeah.
It comes 5, 8, 9. There's 35 big blinds. I bet 35 big blinds in the small blind.
Oh, you potted it?
Yeah, I potted it under the gun because I had the set. If I don't have the set there, I think I just check.
I never would have done that, but anyway.
Okay.
Ever.
So I pot. The big blind calls. He's got 200 big blinds, and the button calls, and he covers both of us. The turn is the 10 of hearts. So now it's 5, 8, 9, 2 spades, 10 of hearts in the turn. I check. The big blind bets. There's 140 big blinds in there. He bets 100 big blinds. The button raises all in. So if you give these guys, so now it's up to me in the small blind.
For how much? Like the same?
So I
started with 250 big blinds.
Yeah.
So he covers you.
Yeah, the button covers both of us. So now it's up to me in the small blind. And if I give both of them straights, then I still have a set with full house odds. Maybe there's another set out there. Who knows? Maybe there's flush draws. I don't know 100%. The game's crazy. It's not like these are, these guys playing the nuts. These guys are it's a crazy game. So it's a difficult decision, right? Like I think if I have 6, 7, a bear straight there, I snap muck. But if I give them both a straight, now maybe I'm live to a full house. Thoughts? First off, Daniel, what are your thoughts on this spot in the small blind?
Okay, 2 things. I'll get to the spot, which is important for you. But on that flop with 5 people to act behind you, you really don't want to lead. You want to be check raising pot, right? You want to, because obviously on an 8-9-5, there's a very good chance some people have connected in one way with 2 spades where they're going to bet their 10 jack, their spades, all that stuff. That gives you an opportunity to just get it in on the flop, and now you don't have this much difficult decision on the turn.
Nice.
Now, actually, frankly, on the turn, I'm being honest with you, it's actually a very easy decision on the turn. It's basically like you're not playing your straight anymore, right? I mean, you're just playing bottom set. You're not even getting the right price. And you have to assume, too, that people continuing on this flop, there's a decent chance that, the 8, the 9, they're dead. The 8, 9, and 10 is dead, to some degree. And like you said, it's very possible someone has like a 9, 9 Jack Queen, an 8, 8 Jack 7, like a lot of these hands. So you could not only be like, first of all, you're not even getting a good price on bottom set. Some of the full houses that you make will still lose because someone might have 9, 10. So, okay, 10 or 9 comes. Oh, you lose. 8 comes. Oh, you lose to that one. And also, you might actually have just one out. So despite there being a really big pot with 3 players in the pot already, I'm already assuming, I'm going to assume that the 6, 7 is not good, right? In that spot, like maybe 1% chance. So basically you just have bottom set in a spot where it looks like you don't even have pure outs and you might be up against a bigger set. Easy muck.
Okay. Terrence, thoughts?
Yeah, I mean, my PLO theory is like 15 years old, but that was my instant reaction. I didn't think it was close at all. I mean, the thing is, I guess it's not like a 1% chance, like Daniel said, that your straight is good. It's probably more like a 20% chance that your straight is good, but it still feels like you don't have enough equity, even if like 20% of the time your straight is good, because of all the times that you're buried both ways. So.
Okay, nice. I did fold, and my hand was good. The river was whatever.
That's why it's in the show. That's why it's here, right? Like, that's 20% of the time it's good. It's definitely not 1% of the time.
Nobody could beat 6, 7?
There was 8s. There was a set of 8s, and there was a 2 pair with the nut flush draw.
Oh my God.
The game's crazy.
It's not 1%, Daniel. Remember last time you laid 100 to 1?
Maybe it's not 1% in a small limit game, but my God, if you were playing like 100, 200, and that hand was good, that's probably 1 to 5%.
All right, do we have time for one more quick one, or is that going to be
why not?
One more? Okay.
These are fun.
Okay, so 3 limps to me in the cutoff. It's 1 big blind. There's a lot of limping in this game. A lot of the times it'll be 5 ways limped pre-flop, and we'll go. It's one of those games. 3 limps to me in the cutoff. I've got Ace Jack 9 10 with nut hearts. I make it 5 big blinds, both blinds, and the limpers call. So we have 6 way-ish. The flop, there's 25. No, it's 5 ways. Sorry. The flop is Jack 8 3 rainbow. So I flop top pair, opening.
Heart? You have a back door?
And I do have a back door. Yeah, there's a heart there. 25 big blinds in there. The small blind leads for 20 big blinds into 25 big blinds. 1 limper calls to me, and your play here with 200 big blinds. And
200 big blinds. Okay.
200 big blinds, and the person who led has about 400 big blinds, and he's not a good player.
Because of your stack depth, that is just a flat, 100%. If you had like 70, just get it in. But it's way too deep for you to ever think that you can raise flop and play well against the ranges that continue there, right? Because if you raise flop, and someone plays back at you, they easily could have Jack 8 with, Queen 9 or something like that. So, so I would just flat all day.
Terrence, thought?
I feel like I'm copying Daniel's homework, but I swear that's what I was going to say. It was like if the SPR is like 1 and you can get in, and of course you do that, but it feels too deep to get it in.
I'll tell you what I thought here. So the guy who led out, and maybe I should have probably mentioned this, he's not a good player. He's not aggressive. So I think because I have a jack here, I raised because I don't, I take away 3 jacks. I take away top set most of the time. So even if he has middle set, if I raise on the flop, I don't think he's gonna shove on me here. Unless
what do you think he's gonna do with middle set? He's just gonna fire to the muck?
No, he's gonna call and see.
Okay, but then why?
Well, I'm not saying he's playing good. I'm just telling you that what he'd do with middle.
No, I know, but okay. So he calls, and then like, what's your plan for future turn cards? Because like,
I'm waiting for the nut. I'm raising in the turn and seeing what card goes off.
You're trying to get a free card, like limit hold'em style.
Yeah, no, I mean not a free card because I'll reevaluate at that point and see what comes. There's a lot of cards that I'll barrel with. I could represent a wrap here. There's all kinds of things that I can do, right?
So what happens is like. If it comes, okay, sure, you make the nuts, right? Like if you make a straight, great, you get it in, you're a hero. But like, if the jack comes off, he's going to stack you. Like if an ace comes off, he's going to stack you if he's got 3 8s, right? Like he's not.
I think his most likely hand is Jack 8. That is most likely hand is he's got Jack 8, and he's not folding it, right? So you have no fold equity with this play.
But I have a lot of outs. If he's got Jack 8,
but like you can see the outs for free. Like if you don't have fold equity, which you don't, he's not betting there to fold. There's no hands that really do that. And his most likely hand is Jack 8. And with Jack 8, if he has any sort of straight draw with it, he might just put it in anyway. See, the thing is, with your flop raise doesn't have fold equity, and you're not a favorite. So your dog,
I might be a favorite. There's
how can he be a favorite over his hand?
If he's got Jack 8, 3, 5.
You're not a favorite, really. I mean, okay, Jack 8, 3, 5 is like first of all, that's a very, 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 very bad hand in the small blind.
I was going to say, when they have Jack 8, they usually have 2 other cards in that area.
Yeah, and you did make it 5 big blinds before the flop, so I know he's bad, but like you're being like, okay, yeah, sure, you could have Jack 8, deuce, deuce, right? But the truth is, he probably has Jack 8. Against most Jack 8s, you're a dog. So overall, it's not a value raise because you're behind, and it doesn't have fold equity, so it's not a bluff. So you're just kind of charging yourself. It's just a minus EV play. Yeah.
Okay. I did raise, like I said, and we got it in.
What did he have?
You have 8s or 3s or Jack 8?
He had Jack 7, 10, 4.
Okay.
So it comes.
Well, if he's fucking doing it with that hand, my God, what do you mean he's not going to re-raise you with a set? He re-raised you with that. You said he wouldn't re-raise you with a set of 8s.
Yes. Sorry. That's the point. Yeah. He did re-raise me all in with that one. So anyway, it came king, and I end up winning with ace jack. But so flatting there on the turn is a better player against most of his range.
On the flop, you mean?
I mean, on the flop.
Yeah, that's just like, it's such a heads up, SPR, like totally different, right? If your SPR, as Terrence said, is like 2 or less, you could probably just go for it. You know, you have enough equity with the back door. But man, your SPR is way too deep to be playing such a, it's kind of a weak hand, like, you know, to just be getting it all in with. Like you just have a straight draw.
Also, we have position, right? So that's like position always leans forward.
One of the things about you don't want to be doing that. That's a very good point Terrence brings up in PLO. A lot of times in these flops, even if you are plus EV, you're still better off not raising because there's so much you can do on different turn and rivers where you can either A, deny equity, or you can bluff.
Right.
You know, you can turn a lot of those hands into bluffs and stuff like that. So you got to be thinking about out of position is where you have to play your hand a little more face up and deny the equity. In position, you know, I'll give you an example of a spot where it was years ago. I was playing $500,000 buy-in heads up against Tony Bloom. And it was a hand where it was a hand where I check raised the turn on like Jack 8, 5, 4, deuce. So 6, 7 is a straight. I check raised, and there's two hearts on board. I check raised him on the turn. He repotted all in. All he had was 6, 7. Okay. So why is that bad? Well, you have the nuts. It's fine. Well, because I probably have the nuts too, and I'm probably free rolling. But more importantly, if he just calls, right? Now the board pairs or the heart comes and I check.
He gets the bluff.
He can win the whole pot, right? Because he's got position. So you don't want to raise in those spots. Doyle Brunson talked about this simple strategy in Super System many, many years ago on a very simplistic hold'em spot where, let's say it came ace, king, jack 10. You know, queen makes a straight. If Doyle had a queen and the guy bet, he wouldn't raise. He would call because he knows the guy has a queen and he's waiting for the board to pair. So now Doyle bluffs, you know, and gets him off half the pot. So very, very, very common thing to think about in PLO in position. Don't cut out all your weapons, you know, unless you can just get it in and you're not that deep.
Yeah. A lot of fun hands being played. I'll keep an eye and put some in the show document here. Maybe we can go over a couple each week. It'll be fun.
Sounds good.
To make you an A Schwartz report drop.
Yeah, you got to make something up. Daniel, we've got a bit of a situation in the Pacific Division where our two teams are neck and neck. We decided to lay a beating on the San Jose Sharks last night.
Well, that's hard to do.
No,
I told my guys. Like, I wish I would have told you guys. Or I did tell you guys.
Yeah,
San Jose plus 270 to win to finish last in the league.
Ross bet on it. Ross bet it.
I sent you that.
Free fucking money. They're like, this is, and this team is so bad.
Maybe of all time.
Like, so they were bad with Erik Karlsson, who had a great year, scored 100 points. They don't have Erik Karlsson. They have nobody who can deliver the puck to the forwards from the back end. They're scoring 1 goal a game, 1 goal, and they're allowing like 5. This is in the Cap era. This is the worst team, because the thing is, a team this bad should have some youth. A couple they're young, they're not that good yet. They're just not that. They're not there. This isn't like Connor Bedard style fucking players over there. This is a badass team. Ben, when I say badass, I just mean bad.
Okay, let's point out the Vancouver Canucks are still marching. We don't get to see this very often. We're quite happy with what's going on. I think 3 of our players in the top 5 in scoring or something. We got a showdown coming with the with the team that hasn't lost a game yet this year, the Las Vegas Golden Knights, who are a juggernaut. After winning the cup, they're on a mission to go back to back, and it looks like our 2 teams could have a little bit of fun this year. I'm looking forward to it. Should be good.
So for those who don't know, Vegas actually broke a record by a lot. The record for a Stanley Cup champion in the next season, starting the season, was 5 straight wins. We won like 8 without losing one, and we're 9-0-1, and we have a very fun one tomorrow night. We're playing against Colorado, 7-2, and I'm going to be going to the game with Brian and a couple friends, so that should be a good one.
Can I just say that I think Adam's actually been replaced by a secret Adam alien lookalike? Because a man who's been a Canucks fan for 40 plus years should fucking know better than to think that the Canucks are actually going to do that. Like, this is, if you haven't had Lucy pull away the football from Charlie Brown enough goddamn times in your life.
Did I say we're going to win the cup? I didn't say we're.
No way. No way.
Make the playoffs. I'm not saying we got to. I'm just saying we're right there behind the. I'm just happy to be close.
Goodness.
Anywhere close.
Gracious.
And, we've got.
In the season, he's already fallen for it.
We've got our own.
To like 4 months from now, when Adam's posting in the group chat, like, the Edmonton minus 1.5 over Vancouver, it's free money.
We've got our own showdown with the Dallas Stars tomorrow night that I'm going to, so I'm looking forward to that one. It'll be a lot of fun. Thanks to you guys for getting together. Great to be back together again. Look forward to the next one. Thanks to you out there for listening or downloading the podcast, and we will talk to you soon.
All right.